Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another season of Green's Gridiron Exchange. I'm Coach Green, along with co-host Royce Willer from PHMG. We just excited to kick this season off with our first episode for the 2024 season. A lot of things to go over, a lot of things to discuss. And we're just glad to be back amongst the fans and amongst the everyone out there, the players in Pinellas County, to just bring you guys nothing but the best of Pinellas County football. So, Royce, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Everything is pretty good, man. Glad to be back. This is our, I want to say, this is, I don't know how many years it's been now, but it's been enough. We've gotten our experience, man, and I'm just happy to bring this back to Pinellas. Uh, the beef is still sizzling. So, hey, it's all good. That just lets you know we are doing our job, man. So I'm just happy to be back. And we got somebody else joining us tonight. Hopefully he has been a regular, but he's going to be a regular. He's going to add some new stuff to the show that we'll talk about later on. But we'll go ahead and bring him in real quick. What's going on, Andy? Can you hear us? You're on mute, I think. Hold on, let's see. Ooh.
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Yeah, what's
Andy,
going on, man?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
good,
Pretty
good.
good, man. Excited for the new season, man. How about you? Have you seen anything in the last week that has changed your perspective yet?
Well, I think I see a lot of things that kind of begin to make me rethink all kinds of things. But I mean, when it pertains to like Pinellas County, no, I mean, kind of the things that I think we thought heading in. Obviously Tarpon Springs with a lot of the transfers they got from Clearwater Academy, that's kind of catapulted them. They were already a team that was like a precipice, top 10, or they were in the top 10 after going 9-1 last year. I will say what's interesting is, Joaquin comes in and John Angelo has made that a quarterback battle. I thought that would kind of be kind of like an outright. Here's the keys to
Ah,
the Sponger, you know, sports car here. But it seems like, I mean, I don't know. I saw some stats posted, and it looked like Angelo had a statistically a good game against Sun Lake, and and obviously I wasn't at the game, so I don't know what actually occurred, but Cavaclese's numbers not there with his, but I'd love to ask Coach Friad, like, what is going to be the game plan? Are you going to platoon the two guys? Is it and I don't know. I don't know if that's something he's going to do, if he's open to, or he wants to go with one guy and the other guy is just kind of sitting there and waiting. But to me, that would be very interesting, just because Cavacles and Chinchar, obviously, last year, with the relationship they had at CAI, you would think that almost would have been a sure thing. But when you're completing passes and looking good, and your adversary is, maybe not doing what you're doing, I mean, that obviously is gonna it's gonna create some kind of question marks in regard to maybe there is a quarterback battle at Tarpon Springs. I think a lot of us probably just penciled Joaquin in and said he's the guy, no doubt. But maybe he's not.
Yeah, Coach Green pointed it out. Shout out to Coach Green. When they went on the tour this summer, man, he pointed out about John, man, and really opened my eyes. But I wasn't aware. I was a little bit aware that he was the quarterback of Countryside. Him and Eric Jeffers had a great connection last season. So this could be a good problem, or it can be kind of a chemistry problem. So I'm hoping for the best with Coach Jesse and Tarpon, because Tarpon coming back helps Pinellas County look good. So I'm definitely hoping for the best. What about you, Green? How you feel about it?
hmm. There's a lot I can say about this. I did have an opportunity to spend a good chunk of time with John over the summer, and I watched him blossom into what I consider as one of the better quarterbacks in the county. He throws a great ball, smart kid, has size, and has a strong arm. And I think with his IQ coming into the year, I know one thing that was said, me and John did speak, and one of the things that he mentioned was that, just like you said, this was an even battle. And I think people automatically just assumed that because of the familiarity with the coaching staff coming in from CAI, that Cavacles was the clear cut leader. But the one thing that John did continue to mention to me was that Freed wasn't a part of that CAI staff, and that he was a man that was going to go and stand with whoever performed the best. And so again, the stats was posted, and I had people come at me because I did write an article on that just based on the information that I was given. And some people thought I was crazy, and some people thought that I don't know, they just maybe thought I was trying to sway them one way or the other. Again, I'm not the coach, and those young men deserve, John is a senior playing his last year of football, and he's going to put everything into making sure that he gets a fair shake. And I think that's what Coach Freed is doing. They both played a half. And for those who don't know, Cavacles did start off. He played the first half and John played the second half. So the numbers are what they are. And we'll see. I guess we'll just have to see who comes out number one this week in week one.
Right, man. I think, yeah, like I said, I think it's a great thing for Pinellas County. Freed, we all know he is a solid coach. He's not one to sway based on anybody's opinion, and that's what's making Tarpon so great now. So we'll get, of course, we're gonna talk about that, man. But what I want to do, of course, like always, is we go start off with the Pinellas High School Media Group top 10. And of course, we're going to go over Greens, and then we're going to go Andy's. Ours is pretty basic. We got CCC at number one. I don't really see, any competition to that. We got Calvary number two. Of course, they're coming off some solid preseason games, a solid season. No Jacob Drackett, but it looks like they do have what they need at quarterback. Also adding Camden Smith. Nelson Sparrow should get some time at receiver. And of course, we got Austin Ho. Tarpon Springs number three. Clearwater number four, who's on fire right now. I mean, man, it's crazy. They're just on fire. We got number five, St. Pete. St. Pete is a veteran-led squad. Got Mr. Jones. We got Ducksworth. We got Mr. Mercer from Bogosiega coming over. We're going to talk about their transfers in a little while. Of course, we got Old Faithful Lakewood. A lot of people kind of gave me a little bit of lip about Lakewood, but that's obviously they haven't seen Lakewood. A lot of people, when this is the thing about it, you guys see your team, your high school team. You see all of these teams. Me and Green talked about it. We, based on Lakewood's schedule, probably the last 5 seasons, they are primed for Pinellas County football. And now there's a requirement really for them to play these county schools. So look for Lakewood this year. Then we got Palm Harbor. We got East Lake. We got Palm Harbor's experienced team too. Seaver has all the experience. We got East Lake with another Mirabella back there. We got Mr. Orsatti. We got Mr. Eli Million. We got Largo. No Jeremy Thomas this year. So we're going to see how their new quarterback fares. But they have a lot of skilled players. And then we got P Park, who was hit hard by the transfers this year. And then we got a few bubble teams, Northside Christian, Northeast, and Bogosiega. So that's our Pinellas High School Media Group top 10. I'm going to go ahead and post Green's top 10 real quick right there for them. Green, sorry I couldn't share your screen, but I see this is your top 10. I'll go ahead and let you shoot it out there and explain what you see.
Yep. So just like yours, just for time's sake, I do have CCC as the top, and they've already proven with a 49-0 win this past week. Then you have Calgary still up there, man. I know they did lose a couple of weapons in Kono and Josh Robinson, and most people would think that would have been, a big, loss for them, but they're still a very disciplined team, very big up front, very disciplined, and very well coached. So I have them at number 2. Where we differed was number 3 at Clearwater. I just think with the size that they have up front on both the offensive line, the defensive line, and then they added some pieces as far as transfers as well. They got the leading pass catcher last year, Javion McKenzie, coming over from Northeast. They have the kid Gooden, Nate Gooden the third, coming over from Osceola, who was dynamic for them. So, and with the quarterback, Jalen White, who I've had the opportunity to watch all summer and just watch this kid progressively get better. I'm just like, with all those pieces put together, man, they're up there with the top team. So that's why I have them third. Lakewood right now, let's just say 60, I want to say 88-7. What is that? That's the combined number of points in the last two games, right? They beat one team 58-0 in the spring game, and then they turned around to beat a team 30-7. So in two games, 88-7. So it's a totally new team. Defense is stout. Guys are fast, running around. And with the addition to the new offensive coordinator that they have, man, things are looking bright. Tarpon Springs, with the added additions to all the transfers, like Andy alluded to, I just like what they have going over there. And then also with the CAI staff, I think that they're going to make some noise. They have a favorable schedule, so I could see them moving up, even to probably, above Lakewood. That's going to be a game to definitely watch because they do play each other. St. Pete, like you said, is a juggernaut. They have a lot of good athletes over there. Defense is always on point, really coach well. Gibbs, I don't know how Gibbs got in there at 7. I don't know if I put Gibbs in there or not, but
did you? That might have been my mistake.
I think that should have been Palm Harbor. I had Palm Harbor at 7. And then East Lake, I like those two guys. East Lake kind of, Palm Harbor, excuse me, let one go this past week. Of course, this was week 0 and there's a tune-up game, so I won't look too much into that. We'll see how they fare this upcoming week. East Lake, Largo, and Pinellas Park all round out my final 3. And when it's early like this and we get all this flack, outside of 1 through 5, kind of 6 through the bottom, it's a toss-up because a lot of those teams are going to prove that they are contenders and not pretenders. So we'll see how everything shakes out, but that's pretty much my top 10 right there.
Correction, Palm Harbor, that actually was a scheduled game. So they are 0-1. So yeah, I found out. Yeah, that wasn't a kickoff classic. That was an actual part of their record. So they're starting off. Oh, well, we're not gonna hold that against them. No. I'm sorry. East Lake. East Lake game was not a kickoff classic. So they lost to Zephyr Hills, which was a great game. So we're not gonna hold that against them, of course. But yeah, that was considered one of their games. So they are 0-1. Andy, go ahead and go over your top 10. Yours is pretty interesting. I like it.
Well, I'll try to give some reasoning. So consensus number 1, CCC. Think they're going to get a chance right out of the gates against Berkeley Prep, who isn't just a team in the area that is a powerhouse, but this is a nationally ranked team now. So I think Harvey gets him and his kids will get the opportunity to really stamp their mark if they could pull off a win week 1 against Dallas Golden, Joseph Troop, Dominic Siao, and the crew. So huge game in Clearwater. And then number 2, I'm going Clearwater. And I got to say, these preseason games, this is something I mentioned in my things I observed, because I know not a lot of people take stock in it. I think you guys, took a little stock out of what happened over the weekend. And, I looked at it as 48-7 over Hernando, arguably a much improved Hernando team from a year ago that went 3-7. Just blasted them. And when you got a guy like Samuel Roseborough, like you mentioned, McKenzie coming over from Northeast, they I mean, this team is reloaded, and I really like their size. I mean, looking at those guys at media day, I mean, at the end, I mean, those are some big human beings.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, there's a lot of teams that size up with them. And no offense, I didn't get to meet every Pinellas County team that showed up to Tampa Bay Buccaneers media day. But yeah, I was just impressed by the size. I was like, some of those kids look as big as Coach Joswiak. So that's pretty impressive to me. And then St. Pete. I got to say, we talked about the playoffs last year, and I think the thing I was really impressed by was how they competed with a Hillsborough County school out of the playoffs. I think this team could be even better than last year's team. Jones, and talking to him in that, media day, I mean, this is a kid that he's locked in. I mean, he was talking 2,000 yards, and I'm not talking about all purpose. I'm talking about rushing. So I think he's a special, runner, and he's somebody that I think really just elevates St. Pete when you're talking about a team kind of going into the postseason. Now, I know people are probably like, Lakewood 4, what? Like 2-8? Royce, I know you had him a little higher, and I'm buying that stock. And the reason I buy that stock is a guy named Corey Moore. The guy's done it for how long? I mean, let's not take one bad season and say this is what's going to be coming to the Spartans. I mean, Aiden Wallace has shown up, and he's playing, really well. He looked good against Palmetto. It looked good back in the spring. I say, why sell on them? Buy on these guys, because all you have is the history of what Coach Moore has done. And he's got, for one bad record, he's got how many others he can tell you he's won district titles and gone deep into the postseason. I think the Spartans will be fine. Got Palm Harbor University. Gotta like what the Hurricanes have done. I know they got beat up by Mitchell, but I saw Mitchell in the spring. That's a really good team. I'm really telling people, don't be surprised if these guys are putting up 40 plus points, on all kinds of teams, because that is an offense. Those kids have been playing together. And I know it's like, well, a bunch of these guys play together since youth ball, but these guys have played offense together in the Trinity Mustangs since they were little kids. Like Caden was the quarterback, Corey Sims the running back, some of these other guys playing wide receiver. Like, this is a very fine-tuned group. So I'm not gonna sit there and overreact that PHU got beat by Mitchell. Like, Mitchell's really good. Then we got Eastlake over Calvary. I know that's probably like, but you just said it. They played with Zephyr Hills, and Zephyr Hills, I mean, you got arguably one of the top 5 players in the country, DJ Pickett. You got Xavier Jackson. He threw 24 touchdowns last year at Tampa Bay Tech. I mean, was really their starter for most of the season. Led the Titans to, I think they fell in the second or third round of the playoffs. So, I mean, and they got all kinds of athletes on that team. Probably the only thing I don't like about Zephyr Hills is their size up front. They got a lot of small guys. They got guys my size playing on the offensive line, and I'm not a big dude. So that's where I say maybe Eastlake was able to kind of push them around a little bit. Calvary, I guess I'm not buying on them because of how much they lost. I know you guys are saying they got some dudes that have come in, but I feel like when you got a new coach, you're transitioning from Reggie Kroom, now you got Wes Safford. I think that's prove it. Prove you are that team of the last 2-3 years. Like, I can't put you there like Lakewood because you don't have that kind of lineage. You haven't been doing it for decades. Like, you just kind of you were just on the come up. So let you remain on that come up, and you'll rise in the rankings. I'm not gonna sit here and compare Wes Safford to Corey Moore. That's not fair. Coach Safford's got to show us, in my opinion.
Okay. Hey, understood.
Yeah. I and no disrespect to him. He may be the best coach of all time. I don't know, but you let the man put together a good record, and then we can come back and say, you know what? Because all these preseason rankings, they always end differently than how they started. So
Absolutely.
I would rather them prove it to us than, kind of give it to them. And you mentioned some dudes that they got. So they do have some guys. Let me see. I just added up. All right. Tarpon Springs, Largo, Pinellas Park. Tarpon Springs, obviously, like we touched on, lots of talent coming over from CAI. Chinchar at the controls of the offense, calling it. Coach Friot, obviously, a very veteran coach. Dude really says whatever is on his mind. He's probably the most free-speaking coach I've ever met. So, funny guy. I like the Spongers. I want to see what they do Thursday against Seminole. And I see they got 2 Thursday games, guys. So I think I'm gonna try to pop out. I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
pop out
definitely.
both. And I don't know what to think of the Seminole matchup this Thursday. I know they played Tampa Jefferson tight. I think it was like 28-27. But this isn't your old school Jefferson Dragons. This is a down Dragons team. So I don't know where to gauge where that game can go. I think the Osceola Tarpon Springs game in 3 weeks, that could be a good one, potentially. Them and Warriors and Spongers.
Yeah.
Then Largo and Pinellas Park, just 2 teams. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a little bit of a shell of what they were. I saw Pinellas Park in the spring. I know you did too, Green and Royce.
Mm-hmm.
Just, man, they've lost a lot even since that time. I think that game against CCC, I mean, I know they beat up on Countryside, but then when they lost to CCC, that kind of, I think they took the wind out of their sails a little bit. So now it's kind of, what does Max Smith got now? What kind of team does he got now? We'll see. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be below 500, but I don't know if they could be above 500. They might be right at that mid-level, 5-5 mark, but we'll see.
Yeah, and hats off to them as well. I think they took care of business this past week. I was looking to see how they would fare with the departures of some of their big time guys, and they were able to pull off a pretty impressive victory. So hats off to Coach Matt Smith and on the Patriots for at least for week 0 showing us that, hey, we still belong. So hats off to them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Pinellas Park. One thing about them, whatever they have, they're going to come. They're going to come out and they're going to give you their hardest game. Josh, he always talks about that P Park gut. P Park's going to bring that line. Even when when I played for back in the day, you can never count P Park. You can never count Pinellas Park out. They may run it 60 times and pass it 2 times. But of course, we got a new quarterback. We got Casanova who could actually throw. But P Park, you can never count them out. So that Largo P Park game is this week. We got number 9 versus number 10.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, I think it might end up being a lower score game. It all depends. We got Zamir McNeil, who's now in the backfield, now that triplets over at Tarpon. We're going to talk about that as well. But it looks like he's ready to take over. We got Amari Carroll, and we got one of our guys who we're going to be talking about as well, Mr. Caden Nobles. So we got a few guys who I think can really show out. So next thing we're going to get to, guys, is got some Player of the Year candidates. I know that us personally, we have our candidates. I don't know if you guys have yours, but of course, you guys can give us your insight. And of course, we got Mr. Jashawn Newton, CCC. Him and Jeff Jones, man, these guys are probably maybe two of the greatest players to come out of their schools. If either one of them would have been separated by 4 years, we would have had back-to-back great football. 8 years of great football with 2 great players who could possibly be Player of the Year. But they're playing together. We got Mr. Newton. The thing about Mr. Newton is you cannot, he has the arm and the legs. As you can see his stats from last season, 14 on the ground, 14 passing. Then, of course, we got Mr. Jones here, Mr. All-Around Jones. I think that this year we're going to be seeing a lot more of him in running back, of course, because, of course, that's what he's going to transition to. But I think that there could actually be a little bit of a down tick in the yardage as far as rushing. And I think possibly an uptick with Christopher Tank and Mr. Hines now. We could possibly see maybe 1,000 yards passing. If we could get to that 1,000 yards and maybe, that 1,500 rushing mark, which I think is very attainable. I definitely think he has a chance to be number one on that list. We got number 3, Mr. Kono here from CCC, a 1,700-yard rush as a sophomore. Had a down year with a little bit of injuries, but as you know, and sorry about the reception, that's wrong. Mr. Kono, his 9th grade year, when I first discovered him, he was a great receiver. Then he goes to Calvary the next year, runs for 1,800, showed out against Lakewood in the playoffs. Last year, still ran for 1,000, despite not touching the ball as much, being spread out more as receiver. You got a 1,000-yard receiver in Josh Robinson. You got Jacob Drackett as well, and he was still able to pull that out with kind of a with a small injury, which of course is now healed. We got Mr. Triplet at Tarpon Springs, which is very interesting to me because you got Mr. I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, Mr. Renios over there at Tarpon, who ran that thing like crazy last week. Very hard runner. Definitely deserves to touch the ball. Definitely deserves to touch the ball. Then you have Keyshawn Griffin, came from Dunedin. He was their bright spot, and he went ahead and went over to Tarpon. And now you have Mr. Triplet as well. So you have a very stacked backfield. Will Mr. Triplet get these type of carries? Definitely not. I can't see that happening. Can he get the yards? He can get the yards without the carries, but it's going to be tough. With he's kind of he's a bigger guy, definitely down bottom. He's gonna bring it, but he's not that shifty speed runner. You know what I'm saying? Like Kono, it does take a lot of yards for him to get to where he was at. And then out of respect, my guy, Mr. Tank Thomas. We have a lot of defensive players. Of course, we had Tyreek Harris as our preseason defensive player of the year. But what can you say about Tank? Over the last 2 years, almost 25 sacks. You have to give him his respect, first and foremost. So with him being top 5 last year, we're, of course, going to give that to him this year. He's going to be a CCC now. I think, of course, he's going to be playing a lot more linebacker. I don't quite know that. But, of course, that's probably going to involve a little bit more drop back coverage, basically for what he's going to transition to in college. But I definitely think he could definitely put up those numbers, give us at least a sack a game. But with Keo and Tyreek there, I mean, you got bookends. They're going to close that book fast. So I definitely think that's going to be that defense and that defensive line with Matt Mills back there, linebacker, a top 50 lock. I definitely think, and the cornerbacks is crazy. You got Cy Smith, Forrest Loving. You got some of these other guys from over there at CAI. This is going to be a very, very good defense. So will Mr. Thomas stand out as much as he did at P Park? We don't know. What you guys think? Who do you guys have as your players of the year candidates?
Andy, you want to go? Or should I go ahead and go?
You can go ahead and go, and I'll kind of touch off of both of what you guys have.
Okay, so similar to you, Royce, I do have the top 3 up there, but I did add just another 2 to my list that I thought would be guys that could possibly challenge the top 3. And for the reasons that you didn't put Tank and Triplet in, those were the same reasons that I, felt that those guys, it'd be tough for them with the surrounding cast. And, in Triplet's case, with the ball being shared, they got, the number 1 receiver that we've kind of voted in Makai Johnson, who's going to want to get touches. They got Jeffers. Nick Jeffers came over from Countryside, another guy that's going to get touches. They got Keyshawn Burks, who came over from Pinellas Park, who's going to take touches. So I just, like you say, I don't see Marion Triplet getting all of those touches to put himself in the rankings to keep up with the Jeff Jones or a Shawnee Newton. So that's why he wasn't in my guys. But to allude to the guys that I did, the last 2 that I did out of the top 3, I got Michael Ionata, the lineman out of Calvary. And the reason why I put him up there was outside of Rosenball, the kid out of Clearwater, he is the top recruited guy in the area. I mean, he's a 3-star lineman. He mimics his brother. splitting image of his brother Joseph Anada. I mean, he has offers from almost every school in the country, and he's just a junior. So he is a kid that it'll be tough for him. But if it was one guy that's outside of those three who would be in my top prospects to get that player of the year, would be him. And lastly, I had my dark horse, which I had Jalen White, the quarterback from Clearwater. And the reason why I put him up there, and as I explained to somebody else just today, that I've watched Jalen over the summer, and I've watched the growth from a quarterback standpoint. Almost every school that we attended on the bus tour, he got an offer from, or was very close to getting an offer. And so from that standpoint, he's already from this first game has 2 touchdowns rushing and 2 touchdowns passing. And I think that's just a preview to what's to come. He's, again, a kid that is freakishly scary because now with the element of him being able to throw the ball accurately down the field, and he's accurate on most of his balls. You couple that with the RPO and him being able to take RPOs to the house, and now you just got a dynamic kid that has weapons as well around him that he can get the ball to, that will allow his stats to kind of produce. So I had him as my dark horse. So like I said, I had the top three like you, Deshaun Newton, Jeff Jones, and Sean Kono. But then my last two was again Michael Ionata, the offensive lineman out of Calvary, and then my dark horse is Jalen White, excuse me, quarterback out of Clearwater High School.
Yeah, definitely. Just speaking on White, man, I mean, awesome game, awesome game. I mean, you can't take anything from him. I mean, probably didn't play all 4 quarters, and I mean, it's awesome game. They got a big one coming up. I think this is going to be this Friday. Will
Oh
tell a
yeah.
lot as far as how their season will go forward, and I think it's a great chance, man. They might pull it out. I think a lot of people is, even though they have all that talent, they might be getting slept on at least outside of the county. But I do know the offensive coordinator over there. I know he knows to be prepared, to have his team prepared. So I definitely look forward to seeing that. Andy, what you got for us as far as your player of the year candidates?
Well, I like all the guys that you guys named already. I mean, obviously, Jershon is almost like a no-brainer. I mean, from what he did last year and then potentially what he could do this year. He's got a myriad of weapons around him, so I expect him to kind of do what he's been doing the last couple of years, which is be that dual threat through the air, on the ground. It'd be remiss if I didn't mention the guy who's going to be next to him now, Sean Kuno. The season he had, I mean, I think he's going to take a dip in production just because he's playing next to a guy like Jershon, who's going to pull that on a read option and take it himself. Don't think that was something Sean had to worry about last year with Drackett. So he was going to always get that handoff. I mean, I think that's what will make it hard for Kuno to be kind of kind of leapfrog Newton as a player of the year candidate, but obviously has to be in the conversation. Jones at St. Pete, didn't really know anything about him going to running back. You guys are too locked in with all the Pinellas County teams. So to hear that,
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
not saying that. I don't want to say that because I want to get. I just thought I saw a few plays with him there, but nah, he's still a quarterback. Still a quarterback.
All right. Well, hey, because to me that would definitely change my perspective of what he can do production wise. Because once you go to that running back position, I mean, you're kind of, and I could definitely see him playing on the collegiate level as a running back. Definitely a special talent as a runner. But I mean, I think he's got to be in that conversation. Jalen White, I was going to say, with McKenzie coming over from Northeast. I mean, you got to think for the numbers he put up last year with well over 1,000 yards passing. He had 13 touchdowns as a sophomore. You got to think McKenzie coming over. Those numbers are going to, I'm not going to say exponentially go up, but I mean, you should see a surge above from what he had last year. So I think Jalen's definitely one. One person I don't think I've heard his name, but Will Siebert, Palm Harbor University. I know he didn't break 1,000 all-purpose last year, but I got to think with Gunnar Fedora, graduated. I know they had another running back. He graduated. I mean, I think naturally he's going to have to carry more of the load himself at Palm Harbor. So I would expect him to kind of hit those stats to go up for him. I mean, I think he should have a bigger year running the ball, throwing the ball. I mean, I don't want to say he could be a thousand guy, but I could see you. I think it's not out of the realm to say he could throw for 900 and rush for 800 or 900. And, that would put him close to that 2,000, between 15 to 2,000 yards all purpose. So I think that would just get him in the conversation. I don't think he'll be the player of the year, but I think that's somebody to kind of, in my opinion, maybe keep an eye on. I don't know if I could buy enough on like another quarterback, Eli Million over at Eastlake. I thought he looked good at the FHS Association State Championship over at the Villages. I really liked what I saw, and Eastlake made it. I believe they were in the Final Four before they got eliminated. I think they got eliminated by Plant. I think they lost to Plant, and Plant was dominant in that tournament, and I think it was kind of a close game. So for them to play Zephyrhills as tight as they did, I think kind of was good sign that they might be trending more up. Anybody else that comes to mind? I mean, Tarpon Springs, like you guys said, I mean, I had a Josiah Collins. I think he had 107 yards on just 7 carries.
Yep,
I mean, triplet, there. I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard when you got a running back by committee. I mean, it makes it difficult for one to really stand out. I mean, because I think all those guys as a group, they might see 30 to 35 carries, but that's going to be distributed, between them all. I think whoever's the hot hand, they'll ride it. But it'd be hard to say one of those guys can really, they're going to have to really pile up stats in games where the score is kind of out of control. I mean, and to me, that's tough. I mean, but I mean, hey, it gives them options. I'm trying to go through the county in my head. Aiden Wallace, I think, is a dark horse, potentially, just because he played at 5A last year. I thought he had some pretty good numbers last year for the Falcons. He comes to Lakewood, obviously, talent at the skill position. Definitely. I would have to imagine Aiden's going to have a season where he could throw for over 1,500. I wouldn't be surprised if he was flirting with that 2,000 number in yardage, just because you got to look at the skill set. I don't want to compare him to a guy of a couple of years ago that's playing at Virginia now.
I just wanted to say it. I was going
to say, I don't want to compare him there yet. Let him, once again, it's another prove it to me. Like, you're there now. You got a really good head coach, a really good coaching staff around you. Not that he didn't have that at 5A. I think he had a really good coaching staff there as well. But you come over to Lakewood, and the expectations are obviously there. So we'll see if he can kind of live up to those. And there's going to be that expectation that he's got to throw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. So he's somebody I would not be surprised, guys, that he's in that. I mean, I think he should definitely be somebody that's in the top 7 or 6 in passing in Pinellas County. Maybe really higher, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he should be top 5, like when the regular season's done. And that's about it for me. I mean, I think there's a couple more we can name from kind of the schools like CCC. They probably have 2 or 3 more players. Calvary, like I said, I gotta see it for me. That's just me. I
can understand it. Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I know with Aiden, I was watching some tape of him yesterday, and I just saw him pull out the pocket and throw, and immediately I thought about Calandry. I mean, immediately. And not only that, is the talent he has around him. You have Darian McNeil. You got DeMarion Rowe, who's not getting talked about as much. And he was a a top 50 talent last year. Everybody who's he's surrounded by can take a 1 yard pass and go 100. So I think that will be to Aiden's advantage. So yeah, I definitely would add him to he's my dark horse. As far as that. So yeah, great talk on that. Player of the year. We're gonna be talking about that every week. So I don't, we're gonna have a lot of talks on that.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick. Top transfers. Top transfers. Who would you say is maybe your top 3 transfers, Grant?
I would say my top 3 would be Mr. Wayne Cunningham leaving Pinellas Park going to Clearwater. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's huge. Like he automatically transforms that already stout defense into almost an elite defense with the defensive line guys that they already have, and then with him in the middle at linebacker is just unheard of. So that one right there is of course number 1, and then number 2, I would say the collection of guys at Tarpon Springs with Clavicles coming back. You got Makai Johnson coming back. Triplet, like we just talked about, Burks going over. So as a group, as a unit, them Nick Jeffers, all of those guys were the guys at their potentials at their prospective schools that they were already at, and then to go form a team with some of the top players from the area, just to me smells success. And then lastly, it was so many good ones, but I would say a kid that I think is gonna help the Pirates, Bogosiega that is, win a few more games. Kyrie Jenkins, leaving Gibbs and going over to Bogosiega. I think he brings another element. Teams now can't double down on Walt. Flanoy, with him being another weapon out there, he's a guy. If you look at his film, he can return kicks. He plays the safety spot and also plays receiver. And he can take the top off as a receiver, or he's dangerous in the return game. So I think he just adds another element, gives Dylan Nara another target, and then bolsters a offense that was needing weapons outside of Walter Flanoy and some of the other guys that they already have. I think that those 3, like I said, those 3 bring much added depth to their teams and much added, experience and good gameplay for their prospective teams that they're on now.
Good. What about you, Andy? What can you give us 3 transfers you've been looking at?
I feel like I'd just be like rehashing the household names. Let me take a stab at it, but you know what? I mean, let's go back to Tarpon Springs. I'm not going to rank them. I'm just going to give you 3 that I think kind of stood out to me when I was kind of just throughout the off season, looking at the entire state and then saying, oh, okay. I mean, so everything going on at Tarpon Springs with these quarterbacks, I got to say, Makai Johnson coming over, the UConn commit. You got 2 quarterbacks. We don't know who exactly is going to be the guy, but we do know who their guy probably is, and that is Johnson. So I think that's big for the Spongers, that you have a clear-cut number 1 target there. Somebody that is, I got to see him against Sarasota Riverview last year, and he really looked good. So I think good. He really looked good, and I thought, like, hey, you look at him and just kind of his skill set. I mean, he should have a great year for Tarpon Springs. I mean, I guess I want to say Kuno, just because, I mean, a running back of that caliber moving anywhere other than where he was at, I think you gotta recognize that. I kind of looked at that as like, hey, him going to CCC. I know I saw Josh Wilson's kind of state rankings. I know there's people voting in it and everything, and I couldn't help but notice in Class 1A, somebody, I'd love to know who that somebody was. They gave CCC a vote as the top team over Chaminade Madonna. I don't know who. I'm kind of like, maybe that person needs to. I'd love to have a conversation. How is CCC, over Chaminade? But hey, maybe because of a guy like this, Kuno does he put them over the top?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure. I mean, Chaminade is absolutely loaded, but it is a new crew of guys over there with Damian Jones in the group. You guys saw him play at Lakewood last year, and I'm not saying they're that same group with Jeremiah Smith and the guys, but they're going to be talented. They're going to be really good again. So Kuno, and then a third one. You know what? I'll circle back to. I think it's huge to see Mackenzie kind of become that guy at Clearwater. I think it gives Jalen White I think you got a glimpse of what kind of season. I almost was actually going to say maybe Mackenzie could be maybe not a player of the year, but maybe offensive player of the year type candidate in terms of you could see him if he's putting up 133 a week. I mean, I'm not no math major, but I mean, he's going to be over 1,000. So let's kind of look at that and say that should give us a little bit of a gauge on the kind of potential he brings to the table as a number one guy for Mr. White. So for me, those are three transfers I'm looking at. Like those are, I mean, all the ones Green gave are great. I mean, those are guys that definitely can be difference makers as well. But just kind of from my perspective, I thought those three I aforementioned were kind of stood out.
Okay. I got a couple. I got a couple guys. Some dark horses a little bit. I'm gonna say one is Mr. Nate Gooden out of Clearwater. A multi-purpose guy who transferred from Osceola. I want to say he had almost 1,200 all-purpose yards between rushing, receiving, and special teams. He's somebody who I don't feel a lot of people be locked in on, even though they should. If they looked him up, they would know. So I think that he will have the opportunity. Outside of McKenzie, McKenzie's going to have a crazy opportunity. He's going to have a crazy opportunity. Great chance to end up being our number one receiver at the end of the year. But I think Nate Gooden is a big dark horse. And Mr. Caden Nobles right here. He's went over to Pinellas Park, and I think that he played with Anthony Harris and did a great job. Now he's kind of by himself, no triplet. You had some receivers leave. It is really the Amari Caro and him and the Caden Nobles show. And Caden Nobles, as you guys can see, he's a speedster. He's long. He's athletic. Can play DB, and he can play running back and receiver. Just putting the ball in his hands to me is going to be a big deal. I really think he can be 1,000-yard rusher, 500-yard receiver. I really think that on top of the special teams play, I think that Caden is going to have a lot of opportunity, and if he could really, really step up on defense like I think he can, he will have the opportunity to be in that Player of the Year candidate, in that candidate section. And the third, who's nobody's talking about, Mr. Anthony Harris out of Largo. Athlete, that's all you could say. Cousin of Darius Hayes. Family, their family supports the big time, so that they are related. And this guy, I mean, he's an athlete. When he was at Indian Rocks, I mean, he was Mr. Everything. And I think that if Largo uses him right, that's really what it's going to be about. Is can you share the ball between transfer Xavier Edmonds, Anthony Harris? You got Barry Williams, Mr. Townsend. You got Mr. Phillips going to be trying to throw the ball and get into a rhythm. So if Largo could get in that rhythm, Anthony Harris can be an awesome transfer. So I think a lot of people sleep on him, just trying to see what he could do. I haven't really seen too much about him in the kickoff classes, but I think that he is a dark horse candidate. But I really, really, really think Caden Nobles may touch the ball just as much as Triplett.
Yeah.
He may touch that ball just as much as Triplett does. So what we gonna say, Green?
Yeah, I was gonna say I did wanna and I thought you was gonna say his name, but I can't forget and I can't leave out, man, Aiden Wallace at
Okay.
Lakewood. He's completely changed the trajectory of where that program could have been without a quarterback, because last year they were 2-8 without the quarterback. And now that they have a competent quarterback who can make the throws, and you kind of see what type of team they are now. So I honestly believe that he has kind of injected some, that fire, and he's definitely put the program on his back from the standpoint of, if we're comparing him to, not so much to Anthony Calandria already, and he's already have had, success in the first two games, from coming in straight off, from where he came to the success he's had early. He's basically the staple right now of the offense. He makes the offense go, and he's a huge, uh, a huge success to that offense. And I just wanted to make sure that I let people know that Aiden Wallace is making it happen down at Lakewood. So
All right, guys. All right, we got about 8 minutes left. We're gonna go ahead and go over some games. All right, we got CCC versus Berkeley Prep. Who you guys like?
It's hard to go against our top guys over here. They proved it time and time again. I don't know what it was about Berkeley this year that they only beat Bogey by 14 points. They beat them 14-0, and you know compared to Bogey compared to CCC, there's like right now night and day in my in my opinion. So I think CCC should be able to handle a Berkeley Prep, just with all the athletes that they got.
Like Andy? Andy, I don't know. Andy, you there? But if not, I like CCC. I like CCC to go undefeated this year. They've been battle tested. Carrollwood Day, Berkeley, all of that. They've seen everything that Berkeley has already. There's
Right.
nothing that Berkeley has that CCC hasn't seen. So I'm riding with CCC on that one. The next game we got up is Seminole and number 3 Tarpon Springs. I'm going to go with Tarpon Springs. I love Colin Cervoni over there at Seminole. I think he's going to get a lot of chance to play running back, receiver, a lot of different things. But I don't think Seminole is ready for even a sloppy Tarpon Springs right now. Even depends on who starts. I think both quarterbacks will obviously get a chance to play and see what they can really produce against this squad. What you think, Green?
Yeah, likewise. I think Tarpon Springs just too talented. If let's just say they stop the run, Tarp can always pass. If they stop the pass and make them run, they got that plethora of running backs back there. That's eventually teams like Tarpon you begin to wear teams down. After a big game, after you don't, stop the team on third and long, and then they pick up a first down, that starts to weigh on you, and that's because of a team that has depth. You think you knocked their best player out of the game, and then here's two more studs coming back in the game, and there's no drop off. So I think they're just going to be too much for Seminole to handle. I like Tarpon Springs in this one.
Who you like, Andy? Andy there? He might not have no sound.
Probably.
It's all good. It's all good. Let's see. We got our next game, Bartow at Clearwood. I have not seen Bartow play. I love Coach Shea, man. That's my guy. He came from St. Pete. But he even informed me that last week they a lot of mistakes. Clearwater ain't making no mistakes right now. And the thing about Clearwater is that line is crazy. Noel Brown, they call him Nightmare for a reason because of O-line and defensive line, he is bringing it. Jamar Jackson, underrated. Howard, Alabama State offers. Very underrated, a junior player. So that line is stacked. Maurice Bryant. These guys, they're stacked. And of course, we got all the skills, like I said, Nate Gooden, Cunningham. You got Mr. McCray at cornerback, who a lot of people I'm really looking forward to see because I've been hearing a lot of things. So we will see. But we got Mr. McCray at cornerback. Of course, we got Mr. White at quarterback. Don't quite know how their running back room is looking, but we know at receiver Nate Gooden, McKenzie, all the guys they're bringing back, they're ready. Who you like, Andy, for Bartow at Clearwater?
Ooh, well, Bartow's coming off a little bit of a lash in there from Lakeland. I know they're in the Jamboree. Forget who the other team was. But I'm going to go with Clearwater. I think they, come in feeling good after 48-7 over Hernando. And I'll say on those previous two games, just to go real quick, Berkeley Prep and Tarpon Springs. Those are my picks on those.
Okay. What about you, Green?
Yeah, I like Clearwater. The running back that we didn't mention is the Berrien kid.
Right. Sorry.
That he's a legit 4-3 guy. Maybe a little undersized. All you need is speed when in that type of offense where they can, give him screens and get him out on the perimeter. A type of kid that can take it, the distance. And with those type of guys in that offense, man, any of those guys can, break long ones on any little play. So I think it'll be close in the beginning, but I think eventually the crowd, Clearwater being at home, I think they, eventually come out on top on this one.
All right. Real quick, we got 2 minutes for us to go run right through these. St. Pete Gibbs. I like St. Pete. Gibbs has talent, just not the numbers yet. They talent is great. Mr. Gordon, you see, he's a stud. This is still so. I wouldn't be surprised if Gibbs shows up now. Don't say Gibbs. I love y'all, but St. Pete has the experience. They got they're just too talented everywhere. The offensive line does, to me, that might be their weak point a little bit, but I think as the year goes, they will have the opportunity to get better. What you say, Andy? St. Pete Gibbs.
Let's go St. Pete.
St. Pete for me as well.
All right, we got P Part Largo. Who y'all like?
So I know an area.
Like a coin toss, really. I think I'm just gonna go Largo. They're the home team.
Yeah, I think Pinellas Park will pull it out. I think they coaching. I think the coaching will get them over the hump.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. I like P Park though. I think that Largo has the DBs to stop the passing game, but I think that Pinellas Park, man, they got to go to that running game and they got to keep it on the boots on the ground. It's a better game for them sometimes, honestly. So I like Pete Park. And the last one we got Eastlake at Camden County. I have not seen Camden County play. Who you guys like?
I did see Camden County. I just saw. Ooh, I'm going Camden County. I'm sorry, but they feature the #1 tight end in the nation, in Elias Williams. I don't think Eastlake has somebody to cover a 6'7", 245-pound tight end. So it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. I'll say that. But give me Camden County over Eastlake.
Who you like, Green?
Shoot, the way he sound, man. Give me Camden. Shoot, I don't know what Camden County is, but I would just imagine 6'7" tight end, one of the best in the tight end, is going to give any team problems, and just a mismatch. Hopefully Eastlake comes to play and prove us wrong.
All right, man, we down to TSA because I like Lakewood. Lakewood.
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least,
I like this
Calvary.
one.
I like Calvary.
Yeah, Calvary on this one as well.
Tight game, Calvary.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you guys. Hey, man. Hopefully, I know they was tripping about giving us a little hours, so we're a little bit over. But here on out, guys, we're going to combine our top 3, our top 10s. We're going to come up with a cohesive, I guess, or what would the word? But we're going to come up with a top 10 that's going to be everybody combined. And hopefully, man, I'm hoping that we get some sponsors, man, and possibly get a trophy for the #1 team at the end of the season. So we will talk to you guys, man, with Green's Gridiron Exchange. I appreciate you sliding through, Andy. As always, Green, we'll talk. And, man, I will holler at you guys later.
Later, guys.
All right, thank you.